Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about my experience of dating an 18-year-old girl in Vietnam when I was 35 years old, or 33. So I met her 3 years ago, and first of all, I didn't know that she was that young. I was staying at a hostel that my friend, her parents owned, and I talked with her, and I asked do you know anyone who you could introduce to me for me to know in southern Vietnam? And so they arranged a date, and in my experience, I think there was too much of an maturity gap, I think. Something that stood out to me a lot, or something that bugged me a lot, was that she kept insisting on listening to Justin Bieber songs, and I hate Justin Bieber. So that was one sticking point. Also, I think that there was a big experience gap. Let's just say in the bedroom, if she's 18, she doesn't have much experience, so things weren't as good as I would have liked them to be, and that's not her fault. But also, I think as a dude, given the choice, I think it would have been nice to. I think a more ideal age would be someone who's about 24 or 25, who's had more experience, more life experience. We just, most of our dates, we just went out to coffee shops and drink boba tea, and it's fun for a while, but we're just at such different levels of maturity. I think that it's like she's still a teenager who is very innocent to life and things like that, and I don't know, I think many people think that if they had the resources, like the money and things like that, they want to be with a girl who's as young as possible, like 18, 19, 20. But I think it's not that fun. I mean, I think given the choice, I think my ideal age range as a 36-year-old guy would be someone who's around 24 to 28, 30, maybe 30. I think that kind of person would be easier to just relate on a life experience level. it's like not like there's some women that I met in Vietnam who were maybe 22, 23, but they've already got their own businesses. They already have they've already been in the workforce for a couple of years, so I think they have a greater appreciation of money, whereas someone who's 18, they've lived basically with their life experience is their parents giving them money to go to school and spend, and so they don't have that same level of appreciation of money. And I think that after dating for a few months, and I saw it as like a bit annoying, I guess, because it's not just always being the provider and paying, but it's also that there's that sense of entitlement that it's like they think that in my experience, they think, oh, this guy is from a foreign country, so he's just spending all this money on me, and there's that sense of just taking things for granted, which I don't see happening as much with older, more experienced women. So that's my experience with being with or dating a younger girl, and I think there are very rare cases where a girl or woman of that age of 18 to 21, it's incredibly rare to find someone who has a good level of maturity. And I think it's like finding a unicorn. The odds of finding a person like that, your best chances of finding someone who has a good, groundedness and that level of maturity would have to be someone who their parents or who of their own choice they engage in some kind of mindfulness practice. So if there was a girl who's been practicing yoga for 5 or 6 years, that really shows in how they interact with the world. And another big issue which I just thought of is I was really annoyed with how not just immature, but how much time she was spending on her phone. I remember we would go out to a cafe, and while we were having the drink, she would excuse herself to go out with her phone, and she would make some kind of TikTok video. And I thought, oh my god, this is so cringy. I thought, well, if we've been on if we've been on a date or something like that, I don't know, maybe it's because of my age, but like we never did that kind of stuff when we were when I was 18 or 20. We never did things like make TikTok videos to post about. At the time, it was more about enjoying the moment. It was more about that connection. And I think that it's one of the things that the younger generation, the Gen Z, it's one of the things that I see such a big issue with is the a lot of the kids or a lot of the people these days that are growing up, the iPad generation, they've been brought up with screens since they were little, and as a result of that, their attention span seems to be a lot lower. They can't seem to focus on something for too long. Their minds like a TikTok reel. They watch something for 3 seconds and then they move on to the next one and the next one, and it's as a millennial, as someone who never interacted with like iPhones and that until I was 20 something, 23 or so, that cultural difference I think is a big issue for people in general to deal with, that intergenerational difference of people that live their adolescence without these iPhone devices, and the new generation that's coming that were brought up with the these iPhones, and like it's so bad. When I think back on it, I just think when I look back, I think it was a waste of time, like, because if people are going out, then I think it should be a rule for the phone to be left alone as much as possible, or else why bother going out with each other in the first place? We could just stay home and play or watch videos on the phone. Anyway, that's my rant about the Gen Z and the iPad generation. And I think as someone who's in their 30s, I think it's definitely something to watch out for if you're considering dating a girl who's from 18 to 20 or to their 20s. I think you're probably going to be wasting your time with getting frustrated about their phone usage, and I recommend finding someone who's not so stuck on their phones. And I only see that happening. I only see the type of women who would not be so stuck into their phones would be people who are like athletes, the girls who are into sports, where they're doing activities where they derive joy from being able to focus on something, or someone who has a mindfulness practice, or someone who has a meditative type of practice. That way you save yourself a lot of headaches down the road. Anyway, that's me.